Now, bringing the realities of war and life as a refugee to the classroom. Our story comes from special correspondent John Tulenko of Learning Matters Television, which produces reports on education for the NewsHour.
Everyone, your eyes and your attention, please.
Banana Kelly High School in the Bronx, New York.
So today what we're going to be doing is we're going to be kind of trying to start thinking about this concept of what is a refugee? What is,
Here, a few months back, 9th grade English teacher Lauren Fardig decided to set aside the usual curriculum and instead take her students on a virtual 5-week journey to the Middle East to bring them as close as she possibly could without leaving the classroom to the millions of people who have fled the war in Iraq and become refugees.
It's the people that are really suffering from the war. It's the everyday people that are trying to go to work and go to school and do the same things that we're doing here who are really, really being impacted by this. Those countries that we were naming before, right? And it's also like the world is so interconnected. And I think that things that are happening in the Middle East really do affect things that are happening over here in ways that they don't necessarily see. And so I want to try to illuminate some of that for them. So start coloring in the countries that you think are Middle Eastern countries, and I'll come back and help you, okay?
Guided by a curriculum designed by the Morningside Center, an education nonprofit, Fardig began her course just as waves of protest were spreading across the Arab world.
We wanted to find out how much these 9th graders knew about people, places, and recent events there. So at the outset, I gave them a little quiz. Name 4 countries in the Middle East.
India.
Big protests in the Middle East. Do you know where they're happening?
I'm not sure.
Who is Gaddafi?
Gaddafi?
They just don't have the exposure that a lot of kids get. They don't read the way that other kids necessarily do. They aren't read to at home. I'd also like you to take a look at where in the world refugees exist currently. So where they grow up with such a limited worldview that I think it's really important to expose them to what's happening in the rest of the world. Where else?
Fardig students live in a poor community, burdened by all the social problems of the inner city.
Part of growing up on the streets and growing up in the neighborhoods that they grow up in is that they have a really hard kind of like shell to crack. So they believe that they need to be incredibly tough. And what often happens is that they become desensitized to everything. They don't understand that it's important to care about people. It's even important to care about people that you don't know.
To help them care, Ms. Fardig began the class with some basics. Students looked at maps of the Middle East and went online to do research.
8,400,000 refugees worldwide at the beginning.
By week 2, they were prepped and ready for the second leg of their journey.
One of the major things we're going to be doing in this discussion today is looking at our packing list. The lesson is called Packing Your Bags. The scenario is it's 2 in the morning, your parents wake you up, they say we have 5 minutes. We gotta go right now. Pack your stuff, we're leaving in 5 minutes. And what are the 10 things that you would take with you?
I had some funny stuff on my list. I put pencil sharpener, flashlight, money, my cat.
I put on their cell phone, I put on their laptop and computer and magazines.
iPod, laptop, luggage full of clothes.
My sneakers, my game system, my phone.
Looking over their lists, the students identified each item as something they wanted or something they needed. From there, the lesson continued.
You guys are trying to drive to a place where it's going to be safe. All of a sudden, the car breaks down. There's other things that you have to carry as well. So they brought some water, they brought some bedding for you guys, some food, things like that. They have to get rid of 5 of the things on their list of 10 because they need to leave them behind so that they can help their family carry some of the other things that are really necessary.
I would leave, my game system, my laptop, my phone, my charger.
I would grab my sister, my other sister, my mom, my cat, and me.
A passport, ID card, also my keys.
And then the last thing I probably would take would be my mom.
What you start to find happening when you have to cut down that list is that they start really kind of reprioritizing, is having, that chain and these shoes and that phone or whatever, is that so important? Is that what life is really about? One table at a time. You're going to come on over. Find your photo, please.
In weeks 3 and 4 of the class, Ms. Fardig's students learned about real refugees.
The photos tell the stories of 5 families on their journey leaving Iraq to different countries. Most of them are actually in Jordan. There's a series of 3 or 4 or 5 photos that are about a particular family. The kids were actually studying the biographies and matching it with the photo and being like, oh, this is the person.
The background is the home of a refugee family. They're watching the news of Iraq. And from what I can see is that the person that's been interviewed is saying that the Iraq war is lost already.
These look like refugee kids because barefooted, not really very lot of furniture. They seem like they don't really go to school or have anything because they're always traveling around.
In the pictures, they see all these people crying. Some of them are injured. They're waking up sad, alone, scared in a country that they don't really understand.
Imagine having to leave and not know where you're going. Everything happening so fast, and you feel like your life is about to crash. Smoke, ash, and darkness.
In poems, they tried to capture the experience.
Night falls, and I'm running in circles, and all I have is hope. Money, loss.
I am a refugee, a person who must leave their home. I have no food on me to eat, no water to drink. Out in the woods, it stinks.
I'm packing my stuff thinking, where do I go? It's just me alone, not having a home. If you see my story and feel my pain, I need a family or home. I need help today.
These students could relate because for many of them, the refugee experience is painfully close to home.
We have a lot of students that are homeless. A lot of my kids live in shelters right now. A lot of them are in the foster care system. They understand more than a lot of high school students what it feels like to be displaced, to not know where their next meal is going to come from, to not necessarily feel safe in their home environment, and having to get yourself through a big crisis.
Write the word refugee down.
The course lasted only 5 weeks, but by the end, many students had gained a new perspective on their lives.
I'm lucky to be here. I'm lucky to be in my country, in my home, with my family.
Oh, I think I live in luxury. Because there's a picture I saw that there's 10 people living in one room, like the size of this classroom, maybe even smaller. And I live in a room with 3 sisters.
I'm better off because I have teachers here that actually come. So if I'm having trouble with something, they'll help me to get it done like Lorna does.
There's no war outside my door. I'm fortunate for that. I'm fortunate to have my family with me, to have support, have a roof over my head, be able to sleep at night.
Next year, Ms. Fardig says, she'll do it again.